Anyone who's been in a relationship with a narcissist for a prolonged period of time has been programmed. And that programming happens throughout the course of that relationship. Initially, when you're in the relationship, the narcissist love bombs you. They mirror you, they become the person you want and need them to be. But then over time, they devalue you. And all throughout the devaluation process, they're using intermittent reinforcement to get you to behave the way they want you to behave. It's a form of behavior modification. They're conditioning you and they're programming you to basically erase yourself, to become an extension of them. They use you like an alternator uses a car. They use you as a source of supply to fuel their ego in their fantasy world. And you learn throughout the course of being in that relationship with them what to do, what not to do, what to say, what not to say. Because you think you're fighting for a relationship. You think that you're trying to preserve something that has substance, that has meaning, that has truth. But there is no substance, meaning, or truth within the narcissist. They're transactional. They don't feel what you feel. They don't form bonds the way that healthy people form bonds. And they don't just tell lies, they are a lie. Because there's no psychological integrity to a narcissist. There's no continuity to their character. And so when they're around different people, they morph into whoever they need to be either the hero, the victim, or the martyr. That's their script. That's their program. And that's what they stick to. So all throughout the course of the relationship, it's basically teaching you to deny yourself. You lose track of where you end and where they begin. You become enmeshed with the narcissist. And eventually, the more you spend time with them, your will is swallowed up into their will. Because you think the more you pour into them, the more you give, the more you sacrifice, that this person eventually will become the person they were in the beginning of the relationship, that they'll eventually see you for who you are and love you the way you deserve to be loved. But in truth, you're pouring into an abyss, an insatiable abyss of emptiness and void and need. Narcissists don't just have needs, they are a need. They completely identify with their needs, which is why they feel a profound sense of entitlement. And no matter how rational, how logical, how cogent the concerns, arguments, and needs that you bring up, they're set aside, they're ignored, they're invalidated because the narcissist sees their own needs as paramount to everything else in the relationship. And so, on a certain level, you start to accept that, especially if you were in that relationship for years or decades. There's been programming done to your mind, to your nervous system, that's conditioned you to look out for the needs of the narcissist, especially if you were raised in an environment where you had immature, emotionally immature caretakers that condition you to look out for their needs, the needs of your caretaker, then you were primed to be in that relationship with the narcissist. And once the relationship ends, once you go through the profound grief of realizing who this person actually was, then you have to find yourself again. Because in the aftermath of everything you experienced, you're like a character who is in a story, and that story has suddenly come to an end unceremoniously, and you've lost your meaning, you've lost your purpose, you've lost your sense of value. You've been cut from a role that you thought would last forever. And the show goes on without you because the narcissist is the director. They write the script, they run the stage, they select the cast, they do everything in the story. They control the narrative. And so once you're replaced with a new supply, you're looking at this show that goes on and you're wondering why you're even continuing. You wonder what your life means at this point. You wonder who you are outside of the narrative of the narcissist. And in order to find that person, in order to reconnect with your authentic self, you first have to understand that your current perspective that you have right after you get out of that relationship is not reality. It's not who you are. It's the veil that's been put over your eyes by the narcissist. That internal voice, that serpent voice, that voice that tells you that you can't, that you're not good enough, that you're not capable, that you'll never be able to do the things that you hope to do and accomplish the things that you hope to accomplish. That's not your voice. That's not your paradigm. That's not your perspective. That's the narcissist's programming inside of you. And in order to break that programming, in order to reframe everything that you've experienced, you've got to decide who you want to be. And once you get firm and you decide the type of person you want to be, it's not going to be natural to just become that person. It's not just going to snap your fingers and become that person. You have to take deliberate, conscious steps, one step at a time. Just like I tell my clients, by the yard is hard, but inch by inch, anything is a cinch. And so you take that first step, and that first step becomes a catalyst to the second step. And the second step becomes a catalyst to the third step, and so on and so forth, until you get to that point where you have a purpose again. You know who you are again, and you see your value again.